Welcome to the gathering. Yeah, you can be seated. I'm so glad that you are here. Thank you, worship team. Incredible worship team. I just told them on the side I'm speaking today, in case you were wondering what I'm doing up here. And I was like, man, if you can't preach after that, I should just go hang it up. That was amazing, phenomenal worship. Glad for that. My name is Tom. Everybody say hi, Tom. And I am certainly glad that you are here. Wow, there is a place for you. You are loved, and here we are family. So I'm going to share some family stories. And as I do, I should forewarn everybody, or at least let everybody know, every story I'm about to share is used with permission. I am now at that stage of life. My kids are old enough now. Anything I say from the stage, I have to get permission first, because that's just the way that it works in our life. How many of you are like me? Hopefully not many, but you hate waiting. Anybody like you just hate waiting? Oh, I hate waiting. Oh, whether it's the directions I take to drive, there's a certain road I like to take as a side road because it gives me one less traffic light. My wife makes fun of me. She's like, "Why are you going this way?" And I'm like, "One less traffic light because I don't want to wait." Right? I'm like, she's like, "You're such a goofball." I hate waiting for anything. I'm just like, everything is at the speed of now. But there was a season that we went through when we were waiting. When we were young, my wife and I, when we were young, I don't even know why we say it this way. We'd say we got pregnant for the first time. She got pregnant. I caused it. Okay? We were married. We were having our first baby, and I remember I was sitting in my office. I got the phone call, and she called. She said, "Hey, we had taken the at-home pregnancies, but now she went to the doctor, and now the doctor called and said, 'Yep, it's official. It's legitimate. You are pregnant.'" She called me. Boom, babe. Guess what? It's real. I'm pregnant, and I got like the butterflies all in my stomach, and I knew immediately that we were going to have a girl. Now, part of that is that my grandfather had 6 girls, and so I thought, chances are pretty good that that's inherited. So, so we had a girl, and my wife, Jamie, who's here today, so I have to watch myself, okay? But she's an interior designer, decorator, and so we didn't go through this kind of philosophy of let's wait and find out when the baby comes what we're having. No. We needed to know the moment it was a tellable, we had to tell like what gender this baby was. And so what happened was we figured that one out. We got, okay, we're having a girl, and Pink puked in my house immediately, like everything turned to pink. I was like, what happened, right? And so we painted the nursery pink and had like all this border stuff. We got like all these accessories. I didn't even know babies came with accessories like that. But like we had the diaper genie, and we had like all these things, and there was all pink, right? And so, but one thing that I will say that was amazing, obviously this was our first child. I brought into the world the first granddaughter in like the family, which I needed to win because my mouth gets me in trouble a lot. And then they're like, okay, you gave us a granddaughter, you can stick around for a little while longer. There's like that sort of thing. That's how it was. And my father-in-law was so excited. He built like this, we still have it, this custom dresser and changing table with pink knobs and all the stuff. It was pink. And we were ready for Kylie to come. Kylie, on the other hand, wasn't so ready to come. She wanted to take her sweet little time, get things ready, make sure. I don't know what she was doing in there, but she was like, I'll come out in my own time. And so here we lived in northern Louisiana at the time, and it was the summertime. Our daughter's birthday is in July. And if you think Arizona gets hot in the summer, you haven't been to Louisiana in the summer. Texas is a little like this, but not still. Louisiana is hot. It is like face melting hot. I mean, I got some product in my hair today, as you can tell, but that was a laughing point. You can laugh there, so no problem. We're going to keep going. First service, got it. Second service, maybe not so much. Okay, got you. Here we go. Like you would step outside and you would immediately have to take a shower. Like ladies had to redo their makeup like 6 times a day because like it would just melt off. It was just hot. Did I tell you that it was hot? I mean, it was like hot inside these rhinos. It was hot. It was dripping hot all the time. And we lived there. And Jamie was pregnant. And so at like day 9 of past when our celebration time, this is how bad it was. We had family who had taken vacation to come in for the birth of the baby, and they had ran out of vacation time and had to leave, and still no baby. And we tried every home remedy that was out there in Louisiana. There was a lot of concoctions out there to try. I mean, we went 4-wheel driving on dirt roads, boom, bumpy roads and walks. And I think it was it called Cairo syrup? I don't even know what that stuff's called. Like, whatever, we were like anything. And finally, 9 days late, Kylie is not interested in coming into the world. Jamie just looks at the doctor and says, "Get this thing out of me." Right? I'm telling this story as an observer because none of this actually happened to me. In case you were wondering, that doesn't work that way. And they were like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to schedule to induce you. She's being stubborn. It runs in our family. I'm like, she gets it honestly. It's no problem. And so the doctor's like, we're going to induce you. We need you to check into the hospital at 12:01 for insurance and billing purposes because then that'll give us a whole day on the bill. And we were like, at this point, we're desperate. We'll do anything. So we're going to the hospital at midnight. And that's what they do. And they put her on this little IV drip and they induce labor. And they're like, okay, you're progressing and we're going to see a baby soon. Okay, you're progressing and we're going to see a baby soon. Okay, you're not progressing. There might be a baby. Okay, well, right, and we're just waiting. We're just waiting in anticipation and all these promises and hopes. And oh man, everything is ready. And the car seat has been buckled into the vehicle like 6 times, the harness, because I got nothing else to do but lay in an uncomfortable chair. And you know, Jamie had it made. Everybody was coming in and checking on her, like, are you doing okay? How you doing? Nobody's asking me how I'm doing. And so finally they said, okay, we're going to have to go in for emergency C-section, emergency surgery. And so they whisk us away back to a surgery room and they do all the things and out comes an ugly baby. Like what? The biggest cone head you have ever seen. I mean, her eyes were all puffy like she'd been up drinking all night. Right, like her head is just like, I mean, it was a ballpoint pen. Like it was so pointed. I was like, what? I was going to show the picture. I actually had permission to show the picture of this terribly looking baby. But, you know, it was before the days of digital photos. So like I couldn't find it in the little photo bin. We got this small little bin of photos, you know, that we keep in the garage, you know, kind of a thing. I can't find that one. Biggest cone head, puffy eyes. Okay, so here's what had happened. The umbilical cord, it didn't wrap around her neck. It wasn't danger like that. It had wrapped around her head. So every time there was a contraction trying to kick her out, there was an umbilical cord saying, no, not yet. And so she wasn't going anywhere, and it just kept shaping that head and swelling those eyes and face. But when she came out, I was in the room. I was like, oh, no. I want to be in here for the gross stuff. I want the surgery. I like all that stuff. So I'm in there, and I'm doing like NFL commentating, like we're about to see next Sunday. So Jamie is laying down having surgery, and I'm like watching. I'm like, okay, they're doing this now. Okay, this is the play they're calling now. And when Kylie comes out, Kylie, that's our daughter, right? She's 21 now, so that's how old this story is. Okay, but when she comes out, oh, she was ugly, I said that already, but a full head of black hair, like just jet black hair is everywhere. It was amazing. And guess what? I didn't care that she was ugly. I didn't care that her eyes were puffy. I didn't care that I didn't care about any of that. Here was my amazing, beautiful daughter. I'm thankful to say she grew out of the cone head It's shaped up. I mean, like within a month, she didn't even look like the same human anymore. She, if you've had a baby, you know what I'm talking about. Her head is not shaped like a cone anymore. She's really pretty. Unfortunately, it cost me a lot of money. She has a new boyfriend. I'm bringing him to Arizona where guns are legal. I know this is a funny story about my family, and I always try to find a way to bring that in somehow, because, man, it's just so good, but waiting is terrible. There's another baby that was born in the Bible who was born with so much promise, so much potential, so much calling and destiny, and we're going to look at his life for a minute, and we're going to talk about today how God does not waste our waiting. Look at me real quick before we get into it, because here's what I want to say. I know that in a room like this, there are people and individuals, couples, families, you are in a season of waiting. You've been waiting for purpose. You've been waiting for freedom. You've been waiting for breakthrough. You've been waiting for healing, whether it's physical or relational. You've been in a season of waiting for the promise, hanging on to the promise of God to show up and manifest in your life. And I'm here to tell you today, God does not waste your wait. Even though it may seem silent, he's at work while you're waiting. He's working on your behalf. He's working on things, and he doesn't waste your waiting. In Exodus chapter 2, we read the story of Moses, who was literally born as a promise to God's people who had been waiting in slavery for 400 years. They were waiting and waiting for the promise of freedom and waiting for the promise of delivery. And here, what seems to be that promise was born, marked, special, hidden, and then adopted by the enemy's household and raised as a prince of Egypt in the palace of Egypt with all of the pleasures of Egypt. And as he was raised this way, they knew this would be the season, this would be the time. And Moses knew this. And so we pick up the story in verse 11 of Exodus chapter 2, reads this way. One day, after Moses had grown up, he was out where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that way, seeing that no one was there, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. I wonder how many dead Egyptians we have in our sand, in our desert, of us trying to do things in our own timing, in our own way. The next day, he went out and saw two Hebrews fighting, and he asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" And the man said, "Who made you the ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me just like you killed the Egyptian?" And Moses was afraid and thought, "What I did must have become known." Verse 15, and when Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, where he sat down by a well. Moses, born with promise, born with potential, born with purpose, finds himself in the middle of nowhere, of failure to everyone. He was now wanted or despised and hated by every place that he called home. He couldn't go to Egypt, he's wanted there. He couldn't lead Israel, he's despised there. He couldn't be anything further from what God had positioned or purposed him for when he was born. And so he goes out to the middle of nowhere, to an obscure place, far from his origins, far from his religion, far from anything he had known. The story picks up what Bible scholars tell us is 40 years later. 40 years later, we pick up this story of Moses. And we start reading the great Exodus story. After he waited in Midian for 40 years. I can't wait 4 seconds at a green light. You know what I'm talking about. Moses is waiting in the wilderness for 40 years. But God was at work in his wait. God was at work in the wilderness. God was at work. I'm sure it had to have felt lonely, isolating. I'm sure it had to feel despairing as he looked at his failures and his attempts and his desire for justice and his desire for freedom, his desire for purpose. Yet it was so unreachable. Verse 23, it picks up the rest of this story 40 years later. I mean, I know we read it as like the next line, but that's where it is. During that long period of time, right? During that long period of time, the king of Egypt died. And the Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out. And their cry for help, because of their slavery went to God. And God heard their groaning and remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. After 40 years, God starts to show up. Now I'm going to talk to you about how God doesn't waste our wait. See, it's in the waiting seasons of our life that we go from being a fan of God to a follower of God. It's in the waiting that we go from being a fan of Jesus to a follower of Jesus, because he develops things in us. He's at work in us during the wait. So what are the things? I have just a couple of them for you today. What are the things that God is developing in us while we wait for this breakthrough, while you wait for that miracle, while you wait for that freedom, that thing that you're waiting on? What is it that he's working on? Number one, Moses' humility grew because he was committed to serving and working with others. Here's what it says, just the next line in chapter 3, verse 1, it reads this way. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God, where we know he met God at the burning bush. It's a famous story. Maybe you've read it, maybe you've heard of it, but it starts the chain reaction. But the whole reason he's able or positioned to have this encounter, this meeting with God, because he humbled himself to serve. He started serving as a shepherd. He started serving the community by leading the sheep. He started serving his father-in-law by doing this. And through service, he humbled himself in a way that God positioned him for the greatest encounter literally known to mankind. I don't know of another person that meets God on the mountain with a burning bush and has God whisper to them the way God did to Moses. But if he had stayed the prince of Egypt while he went through his wait, he would have never humbled himself to a place of serving. But because he served the way that he did, it positioned him for God's breakthrough in his life. In the same way, while we wait, we must serve. Now let me be really clear about where I'm going here. The church doesn't need more people to serve. We have places, we have positions, we have things that, that we're working on trying to structure. And by the way, in case you're wondering why we would say, oh, we need you to serve, we need you to serve. My family and I started coming here in July, that we made this our home church. We moved here to town and this is our home church. Since July, from last Sunday, I had Michael look up the numbers so that I wasn't calculating or, just blowing smoke at anybody. From our first Sunday to last Sunday, our church has grown by 1,000 people in 6 months. Yeah. It's so amazing. God's so good. It's also really messy. Let me tell you where it's really messy, okay? Can I tell you where it's really messy? Number one, it's messy in the parking lot. It's messy in the parking lot. And so if today you're challenged to serve in some way, just know, because we have grown and God's transforming and changing lives. I mean, you heard the numbers earlier from Pastor John about how many people have been baptized recently, right? Because you've heard that, like that happens because they keep showing up. And what we need to be able to say when they show up is like, oh, we've been saving this parking spot for you. You belong here. Like, there's a place for you. You're loved here. We've loved you so much, we saved this spot for you, right? That sort of thing. And so here's the thing. We need some help in the parking lot, but that's not why I'm preaching about this today. I'm not preaching about this because the church needs people to serve in the parking lot. I'm preaching about this because while you and I wait, we need to serve to position ourselves for God's breakthrough. Many times we think we should serve out of our abundance or our togetherness, when really we need to serve out of our mess, waiting for God to bring a miracle. Serving isn't for the church. It's not even about the church. Serving is about me learning the humility and positioning myself in a place where God could do something beyond what I thought he could do. Moses had to learn the humble route of serving, and he served the shepherds, a dirty job at that, right? It wasn't even like a glorious one. You're like, hey, I'll polish the furniture in the church, kind of a thing. Like he could have had cleaner jobs, but he took this job, right? And it humbled him in a place that put him on that mountain. While you serve, hear me, while you serve, it unlocks something in your own spiritual life that positions you at a place to receive from God like nothing else will. Another messy place that we need some help, or that it's like, oh yeah, we got to think through that. Like when 1,000 people show up, you know what they do? I don't know why people do this. They bring their kids with them. Yeah. I say that sarcastically in case you're wondering, we don't need those emails of like, wow, Pastor Tom doesn't like kids. I love kids. I love my kids. I don't know if I love your kids yet, but our kids ministry just gets, why? Because all those people, they bring their kids. And so, maybe your job is to like fill little cups with goldfish. Like, okay, here's your snack. We need to serve our kids and serve our kids ministry and check parents in and check kids in. You see them with their name badge. You'd be like, I wear a name badge. I belong to Britain. My oldest daughter's here. She doesn't go to kids ministry anymore because she grew up. I didn't give her permission for that. But kids ministry needs some serving, right? So if you're like, oh, you know what? I'm in such a place where I need a breakthrough in my life. Maybe serving would position me in a place for breakthrough. We also, we rent this place, by the way, in case you didn't know that. That's Pastor John and Michael. They're away. They're trying to help us secure our future so we don't have to wait anymore like we are right now. But while we're waiting for a new place, we rent this place. And today happens to be one of those days where we have to do a quick tear down. Like we have to be off the stage and out of the building and off the property at like 12:30. So after service, if you want to help with that, you don't even have to sign up. Just come right here on stage. Ken will like direct you like what to do, right? Like I normally wouldn't want to do that because I don't want to mess anything up, but they're like, hey, Ken will be here. He'll tell them exactly what to do. So we can just clear out of here. We just have to do that. Moses' humility grew because he served. Secondly, by serving, Moses' character grew because he made commitments in relationships through that serving. It says this in verse 21, Moses agreed to stay with the man who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. This is Zipporah, that's a Zipporah. Zipporah, that's a makeup store. I don't know why I said that. I'm a girl dad, okay? It sneaks out sometimes. Wow, I did not do that in the first service. Okay. Jethro, his father-in-law, gave him his daughter to marry, and he had to learn how to be committed in relationships. When we serve together, let me just tell you what happens when we serve together. We're better together. When we serve together, we rub shoulders with one another, and it shapes our character. It gives us a new standard. We check in for each other. And let me just tell you this. If I'm being really honest, if I'm being totally transparent, look right here, because I don't want to lie to you. I want to tell you, I've had to go through seasons of waiting in my life. And sometimes the only thing that kept me anchored in those seasons was serving with people. When I didn't feel like coming to church, Even though I was the pastor or a pastor, even though I was paid to be there sometimes, right? No, the thing that kept me going was the community I was serving with. Even in the waiting, because it shapes your character. Gives you that ethic, that work ethic, that grit to get through. We do this in relationships. And so what I'm asking you is, don't just serve once in a while when you feel like it or when there's a special call to come help clear the stage. Actually sign up and serve with a group, with a team. People that would count on you and you would count on them, because then you're going to find out we're all serving in our messiness. But then comes the third part, the best part of all. What Moses learned in his waiting, what turned him from a fan to a follower, what really did it was Moses' faith grew through the waiting, through the serving, and his calling to the promised land. His faith to his purpose, his faith to the promise, right? His faith grew. Why? Because he was walking with people. Check this out. This is what he did. He named his son in Exodus 2:22. He named his son. Zipporah, I said it right this time, gave birth to his son, and Moses named him Gershom, saying, I have become an alien in a foreign land. Here's what happened was, he was working with people, and he's looking around, and he's like, you know what? I don't belong in this mess. I'm called to something bigger. Sometimes we get satisfied with our current situations and our current circumstances, that we start to identify with them. But when we serve alongside people and we see other people having breakthroughs and other people having struggles, and we're journeying together and we're serving together, our faith begins to rise up, and we go, oh, I'm bigger than this moment. My God is bigger than these circumstances. I know that where I'm at isn't what I'm called to. And so he names his son, saying, I'm a foreigner in a foreign land, meaning I'm called to a promised land. I'm called to a people where I'm not a foreigner. I'm just here temporarily getting through. Just here temporarily getting through. Waiting is intended for our mindset, for our capacity to reposition our viewpoint, and to grow our leadership. Check this out. James 1, chapter 1, verse 2 says this: consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kind, because you know that the testing of your faith, the waiting season, develops perseverance, and perseverance must finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete and not lacking anything. Nobody likes waiting, but just know there's work done in your waiting. That what is being produced is a mature you. Check this out. Oh, I want you to get this. I want you to understand I'm proclaiming this to you, over you, for you, and I want you to own this. I want you to own this promise from God. Waiting is for you to be ready for what's to come, and for what's to come to be ready for you. See, God's working on your life. God's working on your heart. And the you that's going to show up in that breakthrough, it might not be the you are today, but God's working on you. And the you that will show up in that moment, oh, that moment has to get ready for you. Has to get ready for your arrival. Has to get ready. See, the Moses that ran into the desert wasn't the Moses that walked back into Egypt. But Egypt wasn't the same either. It says Pharaoh had to die. And when there was a new Pharaoh, God said, oh, this Pharaoh is ready. This is the Pharaoh I want to show the hand of God to. This is the Pharaoh I want to show. Oh, how am I going to show him? Moses, come on. I don't know what your future holds, but I know this: God's preparing it in anticipation of who you will become to arrive in it. Because he's working in your waiting. He wasn't just working on Moses, he was working on Egypt too. He's working on your promise. He's working on your purpose. He's working on your purpose right now. He's preparing it for your arrival. As much as we worked on the nursery and the accessories in preparation of our daughter's arrival, so when she came, it wasn't like it was some emergency. We're like, oh, we've been waiting for you, baby. We got everything ready and anticipation on how you are going to change our lives. And let me tell you, having that first baby changed our lives. Our sleeping schedule, our finances. She changed our world. But we had everything ready. If she had come anytime sooner, not any later, we were preparing for her as much as she was being prepared to come out. Your destiny is being worked on right now for you. What time is it? Okay. I got some time. I'm going to share one more story of waiting. 10 years ago this month, my dad passed away. And for 10 years, I've been waiting for a moment that happened just last month. For 10 years. This was his tool. This was his tool out of his garage. And I think I have a before picture. Yep, that's what it looked like before. And we forged this. It's amazing. It's epic. I'm super proud of it. I made that. The men of my family had not been together since his funeral 10 years ago. And I've been waiting and trying, and we didn't all have relationships. Sometimes we weren't all getting along, different people, different things, different reasons. But we are entering, each one of us entering a new season of life. Some of them are getting married. My nephew's getting married for the first time, or whatever. Some graduating high school. Us brother-in-laws are kind of starting to be empty nesters. We're all entering a new season. And so I just started hounding them saying, guys, can we get together? Can we get together? Can we get together? Let's do this. Let's take Papa's tools. Let's take Dad's tools, and let's make something new out of them. And after 10 years of waiting, we did it. I got a family group shot right there. There we all are together. Yeah. So after 10 years, we got together, and when we got together, we started talking about how we took Papa's tools, Dad's tools, and we shaped something new out of them and made them useful for a new purpose. And I talked to the men of my household, and I said, hey, guess what? When we look back over 4 generations, we know the tools that the devil has used to mess with our family, whether it was substance abuse or abandonment or kids not being parented correctly, or multiple marriages, or alcohol abuse. Just like the list goes on and on and on and on for multiple generations. And I said, what if we realized, instead of being the victim of all of that pounding, that it shapes us into something dangerous, and we say, not on my watch. That we take what's old and made new, and we say, hey, this is a new day. We're drawing a line in the sand, and we're going to become the men that we're supposed to, knowing that there's a scheme to attack our family, but we're going to rise above that. We're going to be better men. We're going to be better husbands. We're going to be better brothers. We're going to be better fathers, right? So let's just take this tool as a moment of saying, hey, we're going to do it different now. We're not blaming somebody. We're not going to be the victim anymore. We're just saying we're going to be different. After 10 years, we walked away saying, hey, we're going to walk in committed relationship with each other. We're going to look at our newly forged tool. I got an axe here, saying, hey, we're going to be different. Here's why. Here's why. I wrote this in my notes. First service, I skipped this by accident. I don't know why, but it's meant for you today. Legacy is not what you leave when you die. It's what you live while you wait. I know you're in need. I know you're waiting for a miracle. I know you feel lonely and isolated. I know you're just waiting for some relief. But I'm telling you today, God is at work in your wait. And what he's shaping and preparing for you is beyond what you can even imagine. I'm just challenging you. Will you humble yourself with serving? Will you build the character and the person you're supposed to be, the son, the daughter you're supposed to be, by serving together with people? And will you allow your faith to grow to see that thing come to pass while journeying in community? This is how we go from being a fan to a follower of Jesus. Will you stand with me across this room? Thanks for letting me share today. Hey, one quick reminder again, I'm getting ready to release you as we're right on time. We do need to do a quick clear out of this room, and so if you can serve, just come right to the stage or help grab some of those things and they'll do that. But I want to pray over you before we go. And even though we're going to be working, I know that God's going to be working, so we're going to ask some prayer people to come and just be here across the front for you. So if you have a specific need, they'll be here to connect with you. It's okay. We can get it done while you're getting God, okay? And that's no worries. Perhaps you're standing in this room right now and you're new to your faith journey, or you've never invited Jesus into your life. You're saying, man, I've wasted so much time. Let me just tell you this. God doesn't even waste your pre-God time. So if you've never given your life to Jesus, just know he's been preparing you for this moment where you can become a follower of Christ by simply inviting him into your heart and life. And if you need to do that today, the people that will be standing across the front of this room, they would love to walk you through what that looks like, what that means, and how to get you the right tools so that you don't have to do it alone. That's why we're called The Gathering. You are loved. You have a place here. You belong here, right? We're family. Let me pray over you. Heavenly Father, I thank you for my friends in this room. I ask that you would bring breakthrough, that you would bring faith in their weight, that you would build their character and you would move on their life in ways that only you could, so that you could get the credit, you would get the honor. God, I am asking in the name of Jesus that they would sense your presence and they would grab with faith, knowing you're at work in their weight. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, God bless you. Have an amazing week. If you can help, come join us.